What's up, everybody? This is General Spear, otherwise known as Christopher, back here on the channel with General Spear Creates, and today we're going to be continuing our build on Obi Wan Kenobi's Clone Trooper armor, and today we're going to be formulating the forearms, the hand plates, the shoulders, and the biceps. And we're just basically forming these together. A quick little note about, of course, as you may have saw the unboxing last episode, we got all the pieces in the raw form. This is, of course, what they look like, just the ABS plastic here that has been vacuum formed. It is from Kevin Weir over at Imperial Surplus. If you want to go check that out, he does an amazing work, and you can get yourself a nice clone kit. With these, there is going to be some modifications we're going to need to do, just some cuts on all of the pieces for all of the stuff that we're going to be essentially forming and putting together. I've gone ahead and I've drawn some Sharpie lines. These are not with the kit when you first get it out of the box, and I've basically just drawn along where basically you need to end up, and a Sharpie is a really good tool for being able to do that. It doesn't matter what color, and it's essentially where those cut lines need to be. We got an assortment of tools that we're going to have at our disposal. I actually found that a utility knife, while it's good, is actually not the best tool in this case. For some of the thin ridges of plastic right along here, a simple pair of scissors is really all you need for those areas. But for some of the harder to reach areas, such as, say, on the forearms, separating the bicep from the forearm here, you actually might need to use something like, again, a Dremel with a rotary cutting tool. And I actually got to pull my cord out from this a little bit, but I'll do that in the video cut. So you'll need your pieces. So we got the hand plates, we got the forearm halves that we have seen, that you'll see here. You have one side, which is the one side of the forearm. You have one side that's the other. This is the one where it has the attached elbow plate. Do not cut this off, especially if you're doing an animated kit. The animated kit has the elbows attached to the forearms, so you do not want to remove those, but you will definitely want to cut around and separate the forearm from the back bicep plate here. This is going to be a separated plate, and this bicep plate will connect to this bicep plate, and I'll show you that in a bit. The forearm halves have various lines. On this half with the elbows, there are some trim lines just to show here and here around, and then we also got some trim lines here. Do not cut these flaps off, because if you can see, there are some rivets, or not rivets, there are some divots in this ridge here. Those are for Velcro that will later on apply to be able to actually close the forearm itself. So that's something to keep in mind. For me, I have thin enough forearms where I might actually just completely secure it closed, but leave enough room to be able to get my arm in and out. To each his own. But that's already what I do for my, I don't know if I have it here. That's what I already do for my ARC Trooper Havoc forearm. I think I have it amongst my... I have it for my left arm gauntlet for my ARC Trooper Havoc gear. I have it secured down enough to where I can actually just put my arm in and out like so without actually having to remove the top here, which is Velcro down just in case. But with gloves, I can just, well, even without gloves, I can just slide it in and out, and that's a pretty good fit for me. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. It does have the ridges on the inside still. I don't know if you can see those, but that little bump right there, those little bumps right there basically are where there is Velcro on the inside. But we'll get to that later on in the build process. Today is all about fabrication and modification. And to do that, we're going to need, of course, to cut out our stuff here. So you're going to need your forearm pieces, you're going to need your hand plates, and you're going to need, of course, your shoulder halves. We're going to focus on the right side of the forearms, or the arms first, and then you'll go ahead and repeat the process for the left side. Of course, for the forearms, making sure you do the opposite cuts for the forearms. On the left side, of which we'll eventually get to the video, we're also going to install certain pieces that are specific to the left side of the forearm specifically, but we'll get to that later. For now, go ahead and just worry about getting your cuts, and we'll go ahead and get started. One last thing I wanted to say before actually moving into our gear, or into our working on our stuff. Again, I said you needed the rotary tool, you'll need a pair of scissors, you'll also need some safety gear yet again. You don't have to use gloves with this, you can if you'd like, but you don't have to. It's kind of one of those optional things. But what you will need are possibly a respirator mask, just to make sure that you're not breathing any stuff in. And then the more important of the two safety items is definitely some goggles. With this, with the ABS plastic, you're definitely going to have a lot heavier chunks flying off and everything. You don't want to, of course, get this in your eyes. Big bad no-no. So definitely get yourself a pair of goggles. You're going to need them. As for that, you're not going to need too many other tools. There might be some other things like maybe a utility blade in some cases, but for the most part, you're going to be fine. Keep in mind that there might be some areas in which you might have to bondo up, depending on how deep or how far you cut stuff. There are definitely going to be some things that you're going to need to cover up with seams, but that's going to be later when we get into all of the nitty-gritty as far as, you know, surface coverage and whatnot. But that's going to do it for this part, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the build. Okay, folks, after all of that, of course, do a little bit of cleanup to make sure you have a nice clean surface. And now we're ready to basically do assembly. And I have pretty much cut on all the pieces where things are going to roughly be. For the biceps, that's pretty much, with all of these, you're going to need to really kind of just test the fit and everything. But with the biceps, I pretty much got it to where I want it to be. And I'm actually going to trim a little bit using some scissors here off that edge. Just to make sure that everything fits like so. That's pretty good. And what you want for the biceps is to have that kind of a rough shape. You don't want it flipped around. Actually, do you want it flipped around like this? No, this is the way. Never mind. There's two halves to this, and one has a thicker rim all the way on the outside. The other side here peters off to just the edge of the plastic, basically. This is your top. This is your bottom. And how that fits, it fits with this. This is the bottom, this is the top of the bicep here in the back, and the two pieces fit together like so. So that's a continuous circle right there. On the bottom, it's basically an edge-to-edge kind of deal. That's how you want to glue that together. Hand plate, pretty self-explanatory. All you need to do is really just clean this up with some sandpaper, get all the rough edges trimmed out and everything, and it's pretty much good to go. For the shoulder plates, this is actually pretty simple. One half, it fits in inside the other. We have the shoulder plate with the angled edge facing down, the curved edge on top, and the flat edge on the bottom facing down here. This is how it's going to fit like right so. With the inside, think of this almost as like a shoe, or maybe as some sort of oblong shape. This part here goes inside the boot. This edge faces towards the top of the shoulder belt. So it goes in like so. That's how you want the shoulder belt to be. With the arm guard, these are the two halves here. You'll notice that we have the Velcro side, and then we have this flat side. You're going to want to completely secure the flat side, but leave this side open in case you want that to be able to have Velcro and have it to be open and closed, basically. So secure the side here, but with the Velcro inserts, leave that open. What we're going to do to glue all of this is we're going to use this. This is one of my favorite super glues out there. It's called Loctite Super Glue. Specifically, this is a liquid super glue with a 5-second timer as far as how long it takes to actually dry, and then about 20 seconds or so for it to cure. With stuff like this, clamps are definitely useful, so definitely have yourself some clamps. Doesn't really matter what kind. I personally like the little hand clamps, basically, of which you'll see me use here in a moment. But this is good stuff. What also works with this, if you don't have any of the Loctite super glue, which you can actually pick up at a lot of different places, Joann's, Michael's, or even a lot of hardware stores, is you can get yourself what it's called CA glue, which is a really nice plastic, or glue used for plastic. This you can definitely use too. It's just kind of one of those all-purpose kind of deals. Don't get the gel. The gel actually doesn't bond as well with plastic surfaces, but get yourself the liquid. That bonds a little bit better. Before going ahead and super gluing it down though, any surface that you're going to glue together, you're going to want to sand a little bit, just so there's a little bit of better adhesion, and that will be pretty good. So we're going to get to gluing here in a second, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, folks, so once that is all complete, once you have all the parts and forearms and shoulders all assembled, next, of course, after you've done the right side as well as the left, we're going to want to take the left forearm this time, and the only accessory for the clone grunt pieces for the animated sets that you're going to need are going to be the comp pad. Now, I've already taken the liberty and sanded the back of this because you're going to need a little bit of adhesive bonding and whatnot, and it's going to go on the forearm. And on the left forearm, there's actually a little bit of an indentation. Let's see if I can get that picked up in the camera. There's a little bit of an indentation where the comp pad is going to go. Now, it's hollow like this because the surface of the forearm here acts as the buttons. So it's going to go flush kind of like so. And you might need to hold this on there just to make sure everything's in place for a few moments. If need be, you can tape this down. I will probably tape it down and move on to something else. But this is the only accessory that you're going to need to apply for at least the grunt pieces. If you have, depending on what other clones you're going for, you might have some on the biceps, you might have some on the shoulders as far as like ammo packs and everything. But as far as just for the basic stuff, this is all you need. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once that bit is all done, once you have it pretty much secured, you're going to let that dry and let that sit. Then you can move on to the next step, which is in fact going to be Bondo. And we're going to be sealing as much of the edges as we can. The crucial bits are going to be on the biceps and on the forearms themselves. Kind of just reaching back here. What you're going to want to do for the biceps and the forearms, this doesn't necessarily need to apply to the shoulders or hand plates because there are no seams that we're going to need to take care of. But we will take care of all of the pieces in the final step. This is just the last step to get there. And so we're going to want to take and actually Bondo all of the seams on the biceps and the forearms, all along the seams there and along the seam out here. If you are in fact making sure that this is Velcroed all together, you'll definitely want to make sure that you put Velcro down. You don't have to worry about it right now, but you will have to worry about it in the final phase of the armor prep. So after this is all painted. So that's, or actually no, before this is painted. That's what to worry about. But we'll worry about that in probably a future episode for paint prep, specifically for all the pieces. But for these guys, all you'll need to worry about for right now is just bondoing all the seams. It'll make it all secure. Additionally, too, once you take the tape off, there might be a little bit of a gap from the comp pad to the surface of the left forearm. You're definitely going to want to reinforce this with Bondo as well. Predominantly on the outside, and then, of course, just sand it flush. That's pretty much all you need to worry about for the next phase. I'm going to get all set up, and we're going to get started. Okay, the next thing, ladies and gentlemen, of course, after you do the Bondo work, is going to be sanding. Now, you can do a sanding sponge, you can even do a sanding rotary attachment, but I like to use the sanding belt. Now, if you don't have access to one, there are plenty on Amazon that are actually fairly cheap, all things considering. There are some that range into, like, you know, the 400 or 500s, but I got this one for under $100, so not a bad thing. It is the Ren, one of the Ren models. I'll link it in the description below as to where I got it. This is where you'll do a lot of your cleanup around the edges, as well as sanding off a lot of the excess stuff. And this is a really quick and easy way to do it. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for this video. After all of that work, you're pretty much going to be left with two sets of forearms that are ready to go and pretty much almost ready to paint. Depending on how smooth your seams are and everything or not, you may have a little bit more Bondo and sanding to do. I'm definitely going to have a little bit more, but you guys don't need to see that. It's pretty much just touch-ups from here on out. Next episode is going to probably either be the chest and the abdomen section, or it's going to be the legs. I haven't decided which, but it's going to be one of those two. As for the abdomens, for the abdomen and the chest parts, they're fairly easy to accomplish. So if you've accomplished all the build stuff today, you'll definitely be able to accomplish the stuff in the next episode. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you want to see more videos like this, feel free to Hulk smash that like button. If you want to comment some ideas and some new art projects, as well as general chit chat, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for stopping on by, and I hope you all enjoyed. Feel free to hit that subscribe and notification button. And of course, if you want to, ladies and gentlemen, all these videos come out of my own pocket as far as the projects and everything go. So if you want to support a little bit my way, go ahead and check out my Patreon in the link in the description below. Thank you so much for everybody for watching, and for everybody, may the force be with you always.